Good morning, Chairman Delegate Freeland on the call.
Yeah, Benjamin and Honorable Freeland, thank you. We just need one more for the quorum.
Colleagues and staff, good morning.
Chairman, you have yourself, Delegate Daniels, Delegate Freeland, and Delegate Stewart on the call. You have established a quorum.
Thank you very much, Shananta, for being on the call. And thank you, Mr. Tahi. Good morning to all that are on the call today. This is the Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council teleconference meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 2, 2022. It is currently 10:10. Neznada which it neznada haljan by ebola oskit. She hariknez inishia. Kodo na nisa salahaki ya chair. Chair Shananish. We'll call this meeting to order. Mr. Tai, could you do the roll call, sir?
Chair, members of the Resource and Development Committee, this is roll call for Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council regular meeting, Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022 at 10 a.m. Roll call. Honorable Ricky Nez.
Delegate Rick Nez is present.
Honorable Rick Nez is present. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Honorable Herman M. Daniels.
Good morning, present.
Honorable Herman M. Daniels present. Honorable Mark A. Freeland.
Good morning, I'm here.
Honorable Mark A. Freeland is present. Honorable Wilson C. Stewart Jr.
Present.
Honorable Wilson C. Stewart Jr. is present. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Chairman, you have 4 members available, which establishes a quorum. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. I'd like Honorable Daniels for being on the call. I know you have some funeral service to attend to, but if you would also text in your votes when you need to, we would appreciate it, Honorable Daniels. Invocation, agenda. Honorable Freeland, could you do the prayer, please? Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart?
Question, Shania. Again, good morning, Shania. Chairman.
Hey, Chairman, I was muted.
Okay. Honorable Freeland, could you do the prayer?
Abiga, Chairman. I apologize for that. Good morning, colleagues and staff. All those listening on the call this morning. It's a beautiful day again, and we're very thankful. Each and every day we are open our eyes and are given this opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that and all the blessings that we get each and every day. Everyone has their own way of prayer and acknowledgement. I'm going to go ahead and offer in this way. Our most heavenly Father, our gracious God, our Creator, Redeemer, our Savior, most merciful one. Father, we thank you for bringing us together at this time again, at this time of importance, at this time of rejoice and reverence, Father. We thank you for the continual blessings you bestow upon us each and every day. We're thankful for the lives that you give us. We're thankful for these opportunities you give us, Father. Bless upon each and every one of us at this time. Give us the courage, the wisdom, the strength, and the knowledge each and every day to fulfill our obligations and our duties and our responsibilities, Father. Bless our families at this time. We ask you to continue to give that blessings upon each and every one of us, all of us right now, near and far, Father. We ask you to give us that guidance, to give us that strength again, Father, each and every day. We ask you to bless our leadership at this time, Father. Our President Jonathan Nez, our Vice President Myron Lizer, our Speaker Seth Damon, and members of the 24th Nomination Council, as well as our Chief Justice Joanne Jane and the Associate Justice of the Nomination Supreme Court. Bless each and every one of them, as well as our local leadership, our chapter presidents, our local leadership, all those in serving the capacity of leadership, Father. Bless them as well at this time. Father, we give you the acknowledgement and praise each and every day as we ask you to forgive us of any trespasses or sins that we may have committed. Father, bless us at this time and forgive us of those trespasses, as we know we are not perfect, but when we do fall into despair, we can turn to you and ask you to forgive us. Forgive us at this time, Father, and have mercy on us. Father, we also ask you to continually to bless all of our people right now, all those who are out right now serving in the front lines, especially the capacity of hospitals and doctors and nurses in the front lines as well. All of our EMS and Navajo fire and police personnel, Father, protect them as well. We ask you to bless all our veterans who may be feeling an ailment of some sort, Father, whether mental or physical, help heal them. May they find peace and everlasting peace at this time, Father, as well as our elders right now, those who are feeling lonely or feeling a little despair, Father, help guide them and give them hope and peace as well. All of our children, may they continually find growth and acknowledgement and of course continue to provide as they are future leaders of tomorrow, Father. We ask you to protect them as well. Father, we continue to give you the glory and the praise each and every day. We ask these things through your Son, Jesus Christ, by way of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Corona Hatchadan, Zenigi, Kashi, Koro, Charleston, Benachin, Coron, Chication, Long, Koro, Asani, Clindole, Shehilla, Kashay, Nas, none at all. Announcements, Mr. Tahi, do you have any announcements for us?
Chair, members of RDC, my announcement is tomorrow. There is a special NABI session. Then on Wednesday, there's also a special NABI session. In addition to that, there is a petition going around for a special council session as well. That petition is being circulated by Manuel Rico currently at the moment. Chair, members of RDC, that is my announcement. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any announcements? I hear none. We'll go ahead and move down to recognizing guests and visiting officials. So we'll just have introductions for all. RDC, Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, good morning. Adonana Kodo, yeah, Kodo. Ado Kodo, Tutsulia Kodo, Todotunha, Behin, Three Kodo, Ishin Kodo, teaching the Nils and Dollar. Ado da Kade was that the Nils and Dollar by Snake Coastal Letico. Ikia Kodo, Ado Kodo, Shikodo, Herman Daniels Jr. But I mean, so, Kiss it seen, if I should chain Adonana, Toy head leaning, that's what say. Got brought as another. I don't know about us again. Not on or jet or sound or what we can. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Chairman, RDC member, everyone on the line. Kudos that Hanan he national key on the Ada Sujab, and that's a chair, this two Ada Sunala. 5 chapters, Low Mountain, Katibu Gap, Talana Cotton with Nosley in the mini front, what I could chapter but had the shot did Archie, he checked off the same Chairman. Apologize for getting on late.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman and
Honorable
colleagues,
Stewart.
good morning. Colleagues and staff and all those listening. Shije Mark Freeland and Shiro, I don't think you touch on your short key on age. Sanjay Canada should chair out, send up the Edish another. These also Clarice and I shall have 8 chapters out of Eastern Navajo Agency Crown Point. Now just to I Basenti, White Rock, Lake Valley, Herfano. I don't know. Yes, good morning to one and all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Good morning, Chairman. Staff this morning on our regular RDC call. Jaya Wilson C. Stewart Jr. age yet go put something in Schnee. Nanish as touching a basis chain touching the W point the Chanel. Out of Batachagi ATL Tobak El Cheat once on the Ajida. I represent the 40 Pines Agency on Resource Development Committee. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Chairman, all committee members, all staff, and all that are on the call with us today in audience. Thomas Walker, age leader. I don't know city talk 20 day. I don't check on my son and talk. I don't know. Son and you know, I struggle. Person that is for them. So they banish. I don't. Which Western agency, I don't know. She don't be the toilet with the tea. But she. What something she that is the national. And she do it okay. She not the creation and do shape. So then we can talk. They don't. Back to you, Chair.
Yeah, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Jay, Ricknez, Inishia, Wasanans, or Zaid Kachini, Bashish Chain, San Habitation, Kia Ani A. Dashanella. As time with chapters, Spanish, Nishigi, Chedak, on San Juan, in Hanza, Dol Kai, East Toxicadot, East Neshkis, Yat, Bena Arnold. Corn, Kujan, that so Tisto, the Ice Most Saroshan, and I consa, Laton fiscal not did then the or staff on of score yet I heard the neck banach Michigan high Winton got Shay staff Bachadologist Mr. Tahi.
Good morning, Chair, members of the Resource and Development Committee, and those online. My name is Rodney Tahi. I am the Legislative Advisor for Resource and Development Committee. I'm Kia Ani and Senja Kine, and I'm originally from Steamboat, Arizona. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Mr. Mose.
Good morning, everyone. Jay Leonard Moses, twins to the band. Shashin Slow, Hanagani Bashis Chain, Ashi, the Chida Topa, National. Welcome, everyone. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mose, and welcome back. Ms. Khan.
Good morning. Chairman Nez, Chairman, Vice Chairman Walker, Resources and Development Committee members, thank you very much, Delegate Walker, for that beautiful prayer. Always, always wonderful to hear beautiful words spoken in a spiritual manner. Che Mariana Khan, the Shijane, Dona and the Shinigi a toy leaning, and he bushes chin, Ash cheer dashed shade, Sanjikin and the Dashanella. I could astonishly. Good morning, one and all. I will be listening online. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Ms. Khan. Mr. Yates from Speaker's Office.
Thank you for the introduction, Chairman Nez. Good morning, honorable members of the Resource and Development Committee, visiting guests. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Joaquin Yates from the Speaker's Office, Legislative Staff Assistant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Sto corona and I bish masa anisa and he kagoda ist do corrosion sad Adana hodit ahishin corona taronas so sgi coro yen hista halnet dole. Honorable Chairman Daniel So Shana Honorable Chairman Daniel So.
Verse 6. Senate I, Chairman Ricky Nez, Resource and Development Committee. So quite said a horse to say Daniel So, that is Janido Senjikin and Slow, then I said Kachini buses chain. Listening this is Chedo, Nahabani, the Senale. Koyat Eto, Shehet, those Che. Shehet, Zeno A. Behani of A. Yasarinze. Adokon, say B. A. Katnas middle, but now has Ani Ebanasha. But Telecom snares such as the thought, not the gene. So now the skis inland do think but do what's in the door etc. Talk or I don't lay kinship guy without a not Ani Bunsley. Back to you, Chair.
Shana, Chairman So. Honorable Paul Begay.
Oh, Bennett, Honorable Chair, Brignes, other members of RDC, other colleagues that are listening on, staff, everybody that's on the air this morning. Fetish Kitchen the Nan Schlero be between Bush's chain. What a chain that should take okay on national that Schlagoi Abanat after the Chido Bishop Gates and up on 17 could be Todo Tonelli. I don't hear looking forward to a good day. I don't hear thank you for the prayer. We need that every day.
to help us throughout the day and throughout the week. Go ahead. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Honorable Begay. From the Office of the President, Vice President, Mr. Filford, are you on the call? No?
Good morning. Good morning, Chair.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, member Resource and Development Committee and staff and all the other delegates that are listening in and Office of the President, Vice President as an Executive Staff Assistant. So I'll be listening in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Filford. We do have on the call with us also a very special person, a very fine employee who used to work at the Speaker's office, a very dedicated person to the great Navajo Nation. I would like to introduce and have her introduce herself, Ms. Melinda Arvizo Siako. Ms. Siako?
Good morning, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, you may proceed.
Hi, good morning, Chairman Nez and members of the Resources and Development Committee members, Vice Chair, as well as all of the other 24th Navajo Nation Council delegates, leadership, staff members, department and divisions. Sheeya Melinda Arvizo Siako Yan Shiedo Sitnajini Nashon Kia Ani Bashichin Twitchini Dashit Shado Dash Chitni Dashanella. And I'm actually calling in this morning here from the legislative branch, the Office of Navajo Government Development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Siako. We also have on a call with us from the Department of Agriculture, Mr. Leo Watchman. Mr. Watchman.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Leo Watchman, Department of Agriculture.
Okay, thank you for joining the call with us, and we'll hear your report today. Do we have Ms. Hope Wilson on the call with us?
Good morning, Chairman. This is Hope Wilson from Resource Enforcement.
Introduction, Ms. Wilson.
Good morning, Chairman Nance and members of the committee and those listening on the call as well. Hope Wilson, thank you.
Ms. Wilson, not the Anish Department of Resource Enforcement. Anybody else on the call with us from Department of Justice? BIA? Anybody else wishes to introduce themselves? I hear none.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Robert Woolley with the Office of the Controller and Accounting Manager. I'm Kiani Farn for my, excuse me. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mr. Woolley. Next.
Yacht A, this is Willie Tracy Jr., Ganado Chapter Manager. Emergency funds that I need to need. That's on the
Thank you, Mr. Tracy, for being on the call. Next.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Nez. This is Delegate Halona. I'm on the call. Thank you, Chair Nez.
Good morning,
This
is Darlene.
Mr. Halona. Mr. Halona, could you introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chairman. Shaya, for now, hold on. Yeah, Aro, Torchin is the Ashin Bashin, and is just check 200 Nella. I'll quiet watch at the District 14. There's Basa and machine. So that concludes Tohatchina City, Crown Point, that's Mexican Springs, Twin Lakes, and Cody Ken. And thank you, Chairman Nez. Appreciate it.
Okay, Honorable Halona, next.
Good morning. My name is Darlene Pino, Natsusan Chapter Vice President. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, they have been in that Ando. Next. I hear none. Mr. Tahi, could you please read the agenda for us, please? We're on number 3 of the agenda.
Chair, members of the Resource and Development Committee, the proposed agenda reads as follows. Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting, Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022, 10 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Ricky Nez, Chairperson. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. Location via telecommunication. 1. Call meeting to order, roll call invocation announcement. 2. Recognizing guests and visiting official. 3. Reviewing and approving the agenda. 4. Reviewing and approving the journal, October 5th, 2022, regular meeting. 5. Receiving report. A. Update report from the Department of Resource Enforcement on the 2022 Navajo Nation Fair and the livestock checkpoint as it relates to hauling permits, health certificate, and clogging test. B. Update report from the Department of Agriculture on the request for proposal, RFP, as it relates to the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, AIF, for the Navajo Nation. 6. Old business, none. 7. New business. A. Legislation 0175-22, an action relating to a Resource and Development Committee and Nominating Committee, supporting the United States Congressional Bill H.R. 8108, titled Advancing Tribal Parity on Public Lands. Sponsor, Honorable Daniel E. So. B. Legislation number 0204-22, an action relating to Resource and Development Navigate Committee and requesting and supporting the introduction and enactment by United States Congress of the Eastern Navajo Agency Land Exchange and Archaeological Protection Act of 2022. Sponsor, Honorable Daniel So. Co-sponsor, Honorable Jamie Henyo. C. Legislation number 0205-22, an action relating to Resource and Development and Budget and Finance Committee, approving a change in CAP-35-18, Exhibit D, for the Bahasta chapter by deleting remaining funds from Funding 1 and adding them to Funding Year 3 for the chapter's purchase of a heavy-duty truck and for a new road improvement project. Sponsor, Honorable Pernell Halona. D. Legislation number 0206-22, an action relating to the Resource and Development and Budget and Finance Committee, approving a change to CAP-35-18 for Hawk chapter by approving the chapter's use of overflow funds for more bathroom additions and new housing wire projects and moving the leftover funding into Funding Year 3. Sponsor, Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. 8. Close a meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Chair, members of RDC, that is the proposed agenda read into the record. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee, let's have a motion and a second.
Chairman, I'll second motion, Freeland.
Okay, Honorable Vice Chair Walker makes the motion and second by Honorable Mark Freeland. Thank you, Shananta. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions?
Chairman Key Allen.
Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr., you have the floor.
Chairman, I just sent an email. Asking to add a report. A meeting session that we could schedule sometime. I already told them that it could be late November, if not early December, if they need it. But I just like to add an item to schedule a meeting with a group of the 15 region regarding the Peabody progress situation over there. So maybe a good timing for RDC to get an update of the reclamation processing and what our communities are going through with Peabody going through the reclamation process. And I believe RDC had gone through there several months ago, but I wasn't in attendance. I know for good reason that I didn't attend. But if that could be possible, maybe I'd like to request to put that on the agenda for consideration by the committee chairman. I don't know if I need to make that motion.
Honorable Begay, yes, you're more than welcome to make a motion. Amendment 1 indicated a meeting with Zahijin area for Peabody reclamation. We had a meeting with them out at Twin Arrows Navajo Casino Resort, and the former Chief Justice was there present, Mr. Yazzie, and others from that region. And we met with them for about a half a day on this topic, and we had scheduled a meeting to go out there as well. Okay. You're more than welcome to do that, Honorable Begay. There is a motion for Amendment 1 to add this meeting approval. Is there a second?
Second, Chair. This is Daniel.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions or additions to the agenda? We can do it under Amendment 1.
Chairman Freeland.
Honorable Freeland.
Not anything to add to the amendment, but just a request for the next RDC meeting, for a report. A report from the Navajo Nation Fish and Wildlife and others who are associated with, who could help RDC and others understand the potential impacts of releasing of the Mexican gray wolf in northern New Mexico, but also north of I-40. There's a lot of discussion and there's a lot of controversy, I guess, related to this, especially with our ranchers. Our Navajo ranchers are voicing some concerns, especially out in Eastern Agency. The Mexican gray wolf has already been released in the Gila Wilderness, which is down in southern and central New Mexico, but has the potential to come north up into the Navajo Nation. So it is a concern from our ranchers out in Eastern Agency and others potentially that could go into Arizona as well. But want to see if we could get an update on that, maybe next meeting, Chairman, from Department of Ag and Fish and Wildlife and others that could help us understand this potential impact. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife is leading this effort and releasing the Mexican gray wolf. And there's already been a lot of course, killing of cattle in the Gila. And it's protected, of course, the species is protected, but it's, like I said, it's raising a lot of issues with the federal government and with the state of New Mexico. But how is this going to potentially impact the Navajo Nation? It's going to come sooner or later to our area. So how are we going to deal with it, Chairman? That's my request for the next meeting on RDC. Thank you.
Good. Honorable Freeland, for your request. Mr. Tai, could you add that to the next RDC agenda and coordinate with Honorable Freeland for all the contacts that we need to make so they can do a presentation, Mr. Tai?
Chair, members of RDC, I have that written down and I'll start making those contacts as soon as possible. Back to you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on Amendment 1?
Mr. Chair, this is
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To when we had a meeting with them. With the team of any Black Mesa residents regarding the reclamation, the concerns. We at that time what they did that the need so I guess their main concern is the enforcement from the Navajo Nation. Every month they have their meeting. Black Mesa United just the other week I gave a report to them. So maybe schedule a day to go up there and meet with the residents and look at the reclamations that are being done up there on top of Black Mesa. Idea, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. With the former Chief Justice and all the folks that came from Zilijin. Although that meeting was open to anyone to attend and express their concerns, we made sure that everybody had a voice, but those that didn't show up missed out on it. So as Resources and Development Committee, we do support the cleanup, the reclamation at Peabody, and the people that live there that are affected nearby. In Hitbahosen go Ebahosen go and then Hitna Ebenina and Nasin answer. Odo than Hitjist than Hitjon Nenegi or Hot Eda. A Kodia Nekodo are the 20 arrows the Patlasi, Lin the other Tanaha has Kregor. At a Hati the okay, the Gishi are what our Nado native chancing, added that in the Hishto Kahato. So here. Honorable Brigade for adding this to the agenda for today. Any other comments or questions on Amendment 1?
Chairman Thomas Walker.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman, committee members. The next RDC meeting, report I don't want to use an amendment for action, but I'd like to request that there be a report on the next regular meeting of the RDC, the Western area, Western region. The broadband infrastructure development. So fiber optic is that public a report from those that are planning to develop such infrastructure. I can work with Mr. Tahi on identifying, stakeholders. But when you have projects from private sector, no government, other local entities, that non-nish, I want to get an idea on how that the broadband structure development projects how far it's going right now. What are the plans? So, of course, we can offer continued support on such matters. So, you have different entities and agencies working on the same thing. I'd like a report on the different projects. How many projects are will be going on, how many projects will be developing, well, I guess across the Navajo Nation as far as broadband, concerned, fiber optics, though. The best of bandai is Hadandaho, Ekat Yinda, Ado Hadate, Yo Kwage, Kito, best of the bandai is Nel, the device, the Babaja, yeah. Oh, Kashina, so Stapaka, that day, that's Washington. I think the committee could receive a report for more information. But we dish the next meeting, the back to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Mr. Tahi, could you add this on to the next RDC meeting report? And just what Honorable Vice Chair Walker had mentioned about the broadband fiber optics that are being developed on the Western region, and get a report, get with Honorable Walker and coordinate this. That way you could find the contact information for these infrastructure development on the Western region, Mr. Tahi.
Chair, members of RDC, I have that written down and I will contact Delegate Walker once we're concluded with this RDC meeting. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. And also for the record, Anna Finnegy, did in a way Black Mesa do Kayenta mine Aja on the Anishant that El Call reclamation tour had no schedule daily at the Quidishi. Dobiga to Selin Hala Nabikia Kun and not Daho Benina Edotara, a special session, even in Ahutza, Eba Honosan election, and Anna Finnegy. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions on Amendment 1? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chair, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman, Kellen votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries for Amendment 1. Back to the main motion. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Daniels.
Honorable Daniels, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe it was last year. We had a meeting out at Shanto chapter, regarding the great power lines, the great electricity in that area. So the great electricity, the great in Western Agency, where you have capacity, where you we're going to build more structures, stores, hotels, power again. That's the noise. So at that time, one of the Shanto official Longhouse Valley substation. So in the Peabody, they used to use that substation. But they also so they use Peabody reclamation there. But if we get that the substation, it was in a Western Agency, even Delegate Yellow area, and the economic development got nego that. Ada being that to let go. So it is a lot of best had a seat at that time. The great shan't. So those maybe the next meeting that we discuss to put it back on the agenda and schedule it again to have a discussion on the Longhouse Valley substation. So it is Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. I do remember going out and also touring the area there as well. Honorable Daniels, Mr. Tahi, if you could add this to the next RDC agenda and get an update on this. And I remember there was a substation in and near Shanto community where the substation needs an upgrade, and we would hate to see electrical powers go down in that region for our people. So we need to start talking about this and keep moving forward on it. Mr. Tahi, thank you.
Your chair, members of RDC, I made a note of that. I will research also the Long Horse Valley substation meeting that was before my arrival as an RDC advisor. And I will also contact Delegate Daniels regarding this meeting as well. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions on the main motion? I hear none. We'll go ahead and vote on the main motion. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keel with green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries on the main motion with 1 amendment. Down to number 4, reviewing and approving journals. October 5th, 2022 was sent to us. Let's have a motion and a second.
Motion, Daniels.
Honorable Daniels, thank you. Second by?
Stewart.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Any comments or questions? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay? Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries on approving the journals from October 5th. Yes, none. Down to number 5, honorable members of RDC. What is your wishes at this time? Would you like to suspend the floor rules and go to new business and take care of it first?
Motion. Freeland.
Okay. Honorable Freeland, could you state your motion?
Motion to suspend the floor rules, Chairman and colleagues, and conduct new business prior to anything else. Our legislations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Is there a second?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any comments or questions, Nanda? None. Honorable Vice Chair Walker votes green. I just saw his text message come in. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keel with green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. The floor rules will be suspended, and we shall go now to new business. Number 7, first on the list is A, legislation 0175-22. And Honorable Chairman Daniel So is on the call with us today. Mr. Tahi, could you read this into the record, sir?
The chair, members of RDC, you have legislation summary sheet for tracking number 0175-22, date September 19th, 2022. Title of the resolution, proposed standing committee resolution, action relating to supporting United States Congressional Bill HR 8108, title advancing tribal parity on public lands. Purpose. The purpose of this legislation is to support HR 8108, title advancing tribal parity on public lands act. HR 8108 would prohibit public land sales containing a tribal culture site where a tribal nation retains a treaty or reserve rights, or that contain a former reservation, requires the U.S. Forest Services and the Bureau of Land Management to offer the land at fair market value, first to tribal government with historic connection to the land, require public land management agencies to provide tribal government with meaningful public involvement, opportunities in land use planning, including the criteria, the presence of cultural sites, and fundamental of a treaty obligations when public land managers consider land acquisitions, and require a public land advisory board include at least one tribal representative. This legislation would also authorize the Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council, President of the Navajo Nation, and their designee to advance the Navajo Nation's support of the Tribal Culture Areas Protection Act. Non-Gate Committee has final authority over this legislation, which we read into the record in its entirety. The primary sponsor of this legislation is Honorable Daniel So. This is tracking number 0175-22, an act relating to the Resource and Development Committee and the Non-Gate Committee supporting the United States Congressional Bill HR 8108, title Advancing Tribal Parity on Public Lands, and includes a whereas and a therefore, which includes in an Exhibit A, which is the Advancing Tribal Parity on Public Lands Act, attaches Exhibit A, which is the 117th Congress Second Session HR 8108 bill. Then you have the first report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary for Legislation 0175-22. The sponsor is Honorable Daniel So. This legislation was posted on September 26, 2022 at 8:55 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 1st of 2022. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation. There was no comments and recommendation on this legislation. Then you have your second report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary for legislation number 0175-22. This legislation was posted on September 26, 2022 at 8:55 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 1st of 2022. You have one comment supporting this legislation. The comment supporting this legislation is from Torreon Star Lake chapter. You have no comments opposing this legislation or comments or recommendation on this legislation. The legislation from the comments from the Torreon Star Lake chapter is a resolution number TSL number 09-2022-53. Then this resolution was signed by Michelle Montoya, President Mario Asensio, Vice President and Shirley Begay, the Secretary and Treasurer. Chair, members of RDC, that is legislation number 0175-22 read into the record. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Motion, Daniel.
Second,
Honorable
Stewart.
Daniels, thank you. Second by
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, this legislation goes to Nabagiatia, and Nabagiatia has final authority. Do you have any comments or questions? One twice. Going three times. We'll put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kell votes green.
Honorable,
Thank you.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Shana. Honorable Daniel So. B, legislation 0204-22. Honorable Chairman Daniel So is also the sponsor. Honorable Chairman Daniel So, are you still on the call with us, sir?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tai, could you read this into the record again, sir?
The chair members of RDC have legislation summary sheet for tracking number 0204-22 date October 24th, 2022, titled the resolution in action relating to Resource and Development Committee and Navigate Committee requesting and supporting the introduction and enactment by United States Congress of the Eastern Navajo Agency Land Exchange and Archaeology Protection Act of 2022. The purpose of this legislation is to persuade U.S. Congress to introduce and enact the Eastern Navajo Agency Land Exchange and Archaeology Protection Act of 2022, developed by the Eastern Land Board. Navigate Committee has full authority over this legislation, which we read into the record in its entirety. The primary sponsor for this legislation is Daniel So, tracking number 0204-22. An action relating to a Resource and Development Committee and a Navigate Committee requesting and supporting the introduction and enactment by United States Congress of the Eastern Navajo Agency Land Exchange and Archaeology Protection Act of 2022. Section 1 outlines the authority. And Section 2 lists the findings, which includes an Exhibit A and an Exhibit B. In Section 3 is the purpose. And Section 4 is requesting and supporting federal legislation. Attached as Exhibit A, which is a resolution by the Eastern Navajo Land Commission, resolution number ENLC-01-02-22. Attached as Exhibit B, which is the title of the legislation. The Senate Legislative Council draft copy of KE N21A01SO3. Then you have the first report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary for Legislation 0204-22. Sponsor is Honorable Daniel E. So. This legislation was posted on October 24th, 2022 at 5:09 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 29th, 2022. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation. There was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair members of RDC, that is legislation number 0204-22 read into the record. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi, for reading this legislation into the record. Before I ask for a motion and a second, Honorable Freeland, are you back on the call? If so, if you'd like to vote on the last legislation, you're more than welcome to do so. I believe Honorable Freeland lost connection again. So, honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second for legislation 0204-22.
Motion, Daniels.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Second.
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart. Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions on this legislation? Navigati also has final authority over this legislation. And twice. Going 3 times. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay.
Cal with green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels.
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries for legislation 0204-22. Thank you, Shina. Honorable Chairman So. Thank you.
Green, Chairman.
Honorable Freeland.
Yes.
That you?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay. Honorable Freeland votes green, which changes the vote to 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving down to C. Honorable Chairman So, thank you for your legislations coming before RDC.
Hello, and I have a good day. Appreciate the support.
So, C, legislation 0205-22. Honorable Pernell Halona, are you still on the call with us? One twice.
I'm on the call.
Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Tahi, could you read this into the record, sir?
Chair, members of RDC, you have legislative summary sheet for tracking number 0205-22, date October 19th, 2022. An action relating to the Resource and Development and Budget and Finance Committee approving a change in CAP-35-18 Exhibit D for the Bahasta chapter by deleting the remaining funds from funding year 1 and adding them to funding year 3 for the chapter's purchase of a heavy truck and for a new road improvement project. Purpose of this legislation is to approve an amendment to CAP-35-18 to change project for the Bahasta chapter to move $115,761.13 in leftover project funds from funding year 1 to funding year 3 for the chapter's purchase of a non-truck and use of leftover funds for the chapter's road improvement project. Budget and Finance Committee has final authority over this legislation, which we read into the record in its entirety. The primary sponsor of this legislation is Honorable Pernell Halona, tracking number 0205-22, an action relating to the Resource and Development and Budget and Finance Committee, approving a change in CAP-35-18 Exhibit D for the Bahasta chapter by deleting remaining funds from funding year 1 and adding them to funding year 3 for the chapter's purchase of a heavy-duty truck and for a new road improvement project. In section 1 outlines the authority, in section 2 the findings, which includes an exhibit 1, exhibit 2, exhibit 3, and exhibit 4. In section 3 is the approval, which includes an exhibit 4. In section 4, the effective date. In section 5 is the savings clause. Attaches exhibit 1, which is the Citizen Fund Power Line and Chapter Capital Outlay Project Expenditure Plan for the chapter. Attaches exhibit 2, which is the chapter's report at the significant amount of funding for the projects. Attaches exhibit 3, which is the chapter resolution number BAH-2205-17-086. Attaches Exhibit 4, which is the Capital Project Management Department CISA Sun Fund Project Amendment Certification CAP-35-18. Then you have the first report at the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary for Legislation 0205-22. Sponsors Honorable Pernell Halona. This legislation was posted on October 24th, 2022 at 5:14 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 29th, 2022. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation. There was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair, members of RDC, that is legislation number 0205-22 read into the record. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
Chairman, I motion.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Second by
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart. Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, Budget and Finance Committee has final approval over this legislation. Do you have any comments or questions? Going twice. Going 3 times. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Yes, Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kell votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries for legislation 0205-22. Thank you, Honorable Halona.
Oh, and thank you, honorable members of RDC committee. Appreciate your support. Have a good day. I'll be on for a little while. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day as well. D, legislation 0206-22. Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith Jr., are you on the call with us?
Oh, Chair, good morning. I'm on the line. This is the Vice Chair.
Mr. Tahi, read this into the record, sir. Mr. Tahi?
Chair, members of RDC, you have summary sheet for tracking number 0206-22. Date October 19, 2022. An action relating to the Resource and Development and Budget and Finance Committee approving a change to CAP-35-18 for Hawk chapter by approving the chapter's use of leftover funds for more bathroom additions and new housing wiring projects and moving the leftover fund to funding year 3. Purpose of this legislation is to approve an amendment to CAP-35-18 to change projects for the Hawk chapter by moving $279,912.30 in leftover project funds from funding year 1 and 2 to funding year 3 for the chapter's use on additional bathroom additions and house wiring project. Budget and Finance Committee has final authority over this legislation, which we read into the record in its entirety. The primary sponsor of this legislation is Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. for tracking number 0206-22. An action relating to the Resource and Development and Budget and Finance Committee approving a change to CAP-35-18 for the Hawk chapter by approving the chapter's use of leftover funds for more bathroom addition and new house wiring projects and moving the leftover funding to funding year 3. In section 1 outlines the authority. In section 2, the finding, which includes exhibit 1, exhibit 2, and exhibit 3, and exhibit 4. in section 3 is approving of change to CAP-35-18, which includes an exhibit 4. In section 4 is the effective date, and section 5 is the savings clause. Attaches exhibit 1, which is CISA fund power line and capital outlay project expenditure plan. In exhibit 2, you have the CISA fund power line and chapter capital project expenditure plan, the NQA power lines, which references Hawk. Then you have exhibit 3, which is a resolution from Hawk chapter, which is HRC-0818-2201. Then you have attached as exhibit 4, which is the Capital Project Management Department CISA Sun Fund Project Amendment Certification for CAP-35-18. Then you have the first report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary for legislation number 0206-22. The sponsor is Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. This legislation was posted on October 26, 2022 at 4:19 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 31st, 2022. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation. There was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair members of RDC, that is legislation number 0206-22 read into the record. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi, for reading that into the record. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
Motion, Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you.
Second, Freeland.
Second, Honorable Freeland, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, this legislation goes to Budget and Finance Committee for final approval. Do you have any comments or questions? Going twice. Going 3 times. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay.
Chairman Kell votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels.
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland.
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. There's none. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith.
Well, thank you, Shananda. And also appreciate that. And I appreciate it from the chapter. And we're looking forward to moving this project to another project so that we can get help there ahead. So, have a good day and God bless you all. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith. We're down to E, approval of a leadership meeting on the Peabody reclamation. And we will need a date for this. Mr. Tahi, if you could give us some dates in a while, but let's have a motion and a second.
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second by?
Allen.
Honorable Begay. Mr. Tahi, do you have a date for us?
Chair, members of RDC, at the current time, my proposed date would be Monday, November 28th at 9 a.m. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, are you good with that? Ashbiga.
That'll be fine, Chairman. I'll just assist the group, and again, the possibility of a site visit session. Appreciate the committee to consider the meeting, and again, I'll work with the group to coordinate this meeting, Chairman.
working with the committee.
Sheila, the Lebanon, any comments or questions? The date will be November 28th at 9 a.m. None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Yeah, on which screen? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green. Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. None. We'll go back to number 5, receiving reports. First on the list is Ms. Hope Wilson from the Department of Resource Enforcement. Update report from the Department of Resource Enforcement on the 2022 Navajo Nation Fair and the livestock checkpoint as it relates to the hauling permits, health certificate, and Coggins tests. Ms. Wilson, you have 20 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Nez. Thank you and members of the committee, thank you for the time set aside for us. The Department of Resource Enforcement conducted the 2022 Navajo Nation Fair and Livestock Checkpoint, not only at the Navajo Nation Fair, but also at the Shiprock and Western Fairs. And we had a number of contestants who came through for the rodeo, junior rodeo, the regular adult rodeo, and the 4-H, and also the livestock contractors for those different events. There were a number of issues that were resulted from that. I believe Mr. Tahi sent out an email that I had forwarded to Mr. Leonard Francisco from the Department of Agriculture and also Mr. Leo Watchman regarding some of the issues that arose during the checkpoints, not only related to the health and livestock checkpoints, but there's also concerns that were brought up to the different department staff that were there, and we hope to work on those with the fair office in the upcoming year. But there were a number of individuals who were non-compliant with the health and livestock requirements. I think we need to work with the fair office, Department of Agriculture, and also the veterinary office to ensure that these regulations are out early. The regulations are developed by the veterinary office, and then they can be modified and changed if different outbreaks occur in neighboring counties or states. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that. And I did talk with Sergeant Jim at Department of Agriculture also to try and have a announcement in the radio throughout the year to let individuals know these are the requirements, not only during the fairs, but also all year round. These are the health requirements for the Navajo Nation to prevent any outbreaks. But we had a number of citations that were written during the Navajo Nation Fair was 8, Shiprock Fair was 7, Tuba City was 12, was what was reported. We'll be working with the prosecutor's office on those. Some of them, the citations just varied from being non-compliant with the checkpoints, not having the proper documentation. One concern is that according to the code, we have to have the original documentation in hand, and if the individual doesn't have the original documents, then they need to have a notarized statement with a copy of the documents. But a lot of them had electronic documentation on their phone, and that's what the veterinarians, Dr. Ruby, Dr. Oldham, are providing to them part of the checkpoint requirements. But according to Dr. Upshaw with our Navajo Nation Veterinary Clinic, provides them the paper documents so they have that in hand. And there were, at Window Rock, there were only 2 individuals who were disorderly regarding the health requirements, and only one in Tuba City who was a livestock contractor who didn't feel like he needed to comply with the requirements, that they were excessive, and that it was too much of a cost for him to provide that level of documentation for the livestock that he was providing. But other than that, it seems that everybody was in compliant. Like I said, we never have any issues with the 4-H participants. They're always on top of the documentation they needed. And a lot of the parents for the junior rodeo contestants, they leave that documentation and responsibility on the contestant themselves, their child, and it's a good educational requirement for them. That way they know as they're growing up and learning and starting to participate in the adult rodeo, they have the documentation ready and they have it available, and they know what is required of them. And that's really good that they're educated in that manner. But that's all I have on my report. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wilson, and thank you for sending the report to us. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
Chairman, I'll motion.
I'll second, Chairman.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Second by?
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, any comments or questions?
Chairman.
Honorable Stewart, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Wilson, thank you for your report. And the reason why I asked for this report was because I went to all three as well. And there were various issues brought up, not only by contestants, but also stock contractors as well. The variations of starting with Windrock Fair, where there was documents submitted, handed over to the rangers, went through the process, everything was good. Same documentation was given to Shiprock, but yet rangers at Shiprock were more, they didn't accept certain inspection papers or certificates. They said that it had to be from Navajo Nation. Whereas a lot of contestants go out if Windrock is too full. The other area, back to Windrock, was that Dr. Baya had reached out to myself asking to get a ranger out to where she was at the time, it was in Chin Lee, to make it more of a benefit for individuals to get a hauling permit. In that area, rangers were saying that they don't issue hauling permits. And they couldn't go out there. Dr. Maya was doing the best that she could as far as getting the certificates out and inspection papers out for those individuals. Come to Shiprock again, you had some contestants that were turned away, yes. But then again, contestants were just parked outside and they rode the horses in. So either way, they got in. Third, when I went to Western, it was the same way again. There was stock contractors that were told that their documents, again, were not acceptable to the rangers. A lot of them, the ones that I got, not a lot of them, but some of them, the ones I was talking to, do have electronic. I get electronic. And I put it on my phone. My vet is Dr. Bollock's in Gallup Cedar. So I get my health certificates and my vaccine card all on my phone. But help with was a hauling permit, which Mr. Watchman and Kimberly helped me get. Although my animals are chipped. Again, that goes back to 3-4 years ago when I first came aboard, and I found out that there was rangers that said, oh, we don't even have a chip gun. But now I don't know if that was, and then I got all my papers in for Windrock, but I was never inspected. I went in and out and no inspection happened for myself. I don't know, but these are again are what I'm hearing from the other side. That's why I asked for a report. And I'm glad to hear you say that in the coming years that this is going to be improved upon. Various areas are going to be corrected. And I do like the fact that it's going to be announced periodically throughout the year to the livestock owners to get these things in compliance. But then again, I want to go back and ask again too, is with the stock contractors, we say we're a sovereign nation. The Anglo stock contractors, based off of what was reported back to me, saying that everything had to go through Navajo Nation, are we going to inquire that of those Anglo stock contractors to get Navajo Nation documents as well to bring their livestock on to Navajo? Those are my questions and my report back as to what I heard out there at the arena. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart, for your concerns and questions. Ms. Wilson, your response?
Thank you, Chairman Nez, and thank you for the questions, Delegate Stewart. As far as the documents that are being submitted and handing over to the rangers, the requirements are there, based upon the documentation that was sent out, and it's at each officer's discretion what they're going to do in each particular situation, and how they're going to handle it. And I know a lot of the rangers worked with the individual. If they said, I don't have the hauling permit, it's at home, and then we asked them, is there somebody at home who can send you a digital copy of it? So a lot of them were able to do that. Like we had one situation where another livestock owner, she said that the veterinarian was supposed to email her the documents, but she didn't have it available. So I was able to contact Dr. Upshaw, and she was able to get us the documentation. She did say, yes, I did look at her horses. I know she has her health certificate and everything's up to date. So she said, ask her to double check her email and make sure it's coming from this email address. So when I went back to the individual, she was able to find her documents. And like I said, the code, the Navajo Nation code says that we have to have the original documents in hand. But we work with the individuals and we let them know that, yes, we're supposed to have them in hand when we do the brand verification and all of that, but we will go ahead and accept it. But next time, as a reminder, you are required to have it in hand if you're coming back through the checkpoint. That's it. So I know we did work with them. It's a transitional period with them, getting used to having this documentation with them. And, we had questions as to, well, we have all this technology these days, how come you guys can't accept what's on the phone versus, what's on paper? And we let them know, and that's not something I can waive. It's not something that I can do. It's in the code. So unless the RDC committee and the council chooses to waive that requirement and state that we can accept electronic documentation, then that can be done. But that's not something I can do personally here at the department. And I know in Shiprock, a couple of the documents I looked over, some of the testing for the Coggins was outside the 30-day testing period. So in those cases, those items won't be accepted because it has to be within 30 days of the event. And there was another case where an individual came, a contestant, and he said that he left the documents in a different truck He had brought a different, he said, I must have left it in there, and I have the truck here and stuff, but, I just don't have it with me. So he called back to his spouse, and she was trying to look for it, and she couldn't find it, and finally, about maybe an hour later, he was able to provide us documentation on the phone that it was there. So we went ahead and we accepted those documents and those situations. And Dr. Baya never reached out to us regarding a ranger being needed at Chinle, because she has my cell phone number and she was communicating with me throughout the event. But once again, rangers don't complete the hauling permit. That is done by Department of Agriculture. So Mr. Watchman, I know, made every effort he could to try to have the DLIs and the staff available. But as a DLI, it's kind of a voluntary basis, how as grazing officials as well, how they work with their constituents or the community. Mr. Watchman can't force a DLI to be at a certain area from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. He can make the request to them, and if they choose to comply, then that's really up to them. Or if he's able to send a staff member out there to do that, then able to do that. But I'm not able to tell Mr. Watchman, I want to have employee so-and-so at Chinle from this date and time, that would be me overstepping my bounds. But we can continue to work with Mr. Watchman and make recommendations to him as to where the hauling permits can be conducted, because we did make recommendations to Mr. Watchman to maybe have the contestants bring their livestock to the museum parking lot. That way, they could have someone there to do inspections, and then from there they could proceed into the rodeo grounds, because it gets really congested right in that area, and we have to have an ingress and egress, should an emergency occur, as we're trying to get all the rodeo contestants into the rodeo arena. So we try to find other alternatives, and we're hoping that this coming year that we can try to prevent some of those things, and working together that we try to figure out how all that's going to work now, instead of at the last minute trying to say, okay, well, let's do this and that. So we're trying to, so that's why I sent the email to the fair office to hopefully open that dialogue between the two of us, so we can try to remediate some of these issues before they happen. And the Western stock contract, like I said, it's based upon the date on their documentation as to whether or not they're in compliance with the animal health requirements. And we sent those animal health requirements, I know, out to the Farmington veterinarian. She wanted to know exactly what was required, because there were some people saying they needed to, have all the testing done for the bulls for that requirement. And I told them, no, only if you are breeding them would you need the testing for that. I said that's only specific to those certain areas, but if you're not breeding the bulls, you're bringing them for competition, then you don't need that requirement. So we work with them on an individual basis, working with the event coordinators. That's the best line of communication with us, and they communicated with us asking us, okay, what is this? Do we need this for our stock contractors, or do we need these for our contestants? And we tell them, no, this is only a requirement in this certain case. So, it's just about communication with them so they know. And then, like I said, electronic copies, that's something that's in the code that we would have to look at. And as far as a microchip, usually, in most cases, the microchip is reported on the health certificate. It's recorded there, and it's also recorded on the Coggins test as a tracking mechanism. So if the microchip is there, then it should be able to be transcribed onto the documentation as well. As far as the livestock inspectors doing the inspections, not having a microchip reader, then I would have to talk with Mr. Watchman to see how we can work that out to where the inspectors have access to a microchip reader for them to do the inspections, to have those numbers transcribed onto the hauling permit. And all stock contractors that come onto the nation, even if they're from Texas, Montana, wherever, they have to comply with the requirements here on the Navajo Nation, because when they're transporting, across state lines or whatever, they have to be in compliance with that state requirements. For instance, state of New Mexico, upon livestock entry into the state of New Mexico, they have to have a New Mexico entry permit number. And we forwarded that information to everyone so that if they were traveling through New Mexico, then that was a requirement for them. But if they were not traveling through New Mexico, then that's not a requirement they would need. And as far as hauling permits, let's say they're coming from the state of Wyoming. We accept the state of Wyoming hauling permits and inspection permits, if that's what they have there, their health certificates. That documentation is accepted here on the Navajo. It's not only, you don't have to get that documentation specifically from a veterinarian here on the Navajo Nation. We do accept those that are coming from other states. For instance, in Shiprock, we had some health certificates that came from the state of Montana, and we do accept those in those cases. I don't know if that answers all of the questions you had.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wilson. Honorable Stewart, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, Chairman. So, Ms. Wilson, if it's within the code, and this is under your oversight on that side as a department manager, department oversight on that side, and then what type of legislation can you assist the RDC with to change that? Because we have departments and other programs that provide RDC with types of workshops that where it needs to be changed and what needs to be done so that those then can be done in that way. I think if that needs to be done, then that should come from you as the director on that side to say, this is what we need to work on, how it needs to be changed. And then also with the outside stock contractors. And then, like I said, there was some that were even from Navajo that were saying, no, we cannot accept this. So that's where I'm questioning is, are the employees, and you're saying that each employee, each ranger works differently across the board. So why isn't it uniform on that side to work with each of the contestants or each of the families the same manner, rather than one working better with one individual and another? In those areas, I would like to see that, a proper training or proper organizational chart be put together for them so that they can say, this is what we're abiding by. So that we in the future don't get questions as to say, how come this is like this, or how come that's like that? Those are the only things I have, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart, for your question. Before I go to Ms. Wilson to respond, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, are you able to facilitate and complete the rest of the RDC meeting? Okay. Honorable Freeland, are you on the call? None? Okay. Honorable, that's okay. Ms. Wilson, could you go ahead and respond, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Nez. In regards to Delegate Stewart's question about uniformity of the way it's conducted, if he would like it to be conducted uniform, then that's fine. We can do that. We will go specifically by what is in the Navajo Nation Code, and we won't be deviating from it, which means just like I said, in cases where we worked with the individual where they didn't have the original documentation in hand, then that will tie our hands where we won't accept anything else. If they don't have it, then we're not accepting anything on the phone. We're not accepting any other, photos or anything from them in that manner. Even if the veterinarian says, well, I have it here, on my computer, then we're not going to be able to do that. So we can do that. So we can start enforcing what's strictly in the code, and that's it. Thank you, Chairman Nez.
Okay, thank you for that. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Chairman, one more.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Ms. Wilson, all I'm saying is that your assistance is needed to change that code as well. That's all.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes, Chairman Nez. We can work with Department of Ag, like I said, regarding our recommendations and suggestions, and then also work with them regarding the inspection side, and also with Dr. Upshaw regarding, what works, what didn't work, and any recommendations we have, we can provide that to RDC. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart, any follow-ups?
That's it, Chairman. And then, like I said, that would be a process to take, not to so that you are working with the community members across the board equally.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. What we can do for next year is, I know there were still restrictions right up to the fair. What we can do is have a meeting with Department of Ag, Resources Enforcement, and also the Mr. Francisco next year, and we can plan how to make things better and coordinate better at that time too. So thank you, Ms. Wilson. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote? Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kielowicz, green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels votes green according to his text message. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart?
Red, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote? Honorable Freeland? Honorable Vice Chair Walker votes green according to his text message. Honorable Freeland? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman,
Wilson.
I vote green. Sorry, Freeland.
Okay, before we move down, Honorable Freeland votes green on the report. So the vote changes to 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. B.
Chairman
update
Nez?
report from- Yes.
This is Mariana Khan, Office of Legislative Counsel. I have just sent a suggestion for a report regarding this topic that could be added to today's agenda. I've emailed it to Resources and Development Committee members and to Mr. Tahi. And if because there seems to be some issues with regard to the language or what is required by the code with regard to hauling permits and the requirements. I do believe that clarity could be provided by the Department of Justice and also Department of Agriculture. And my suggestion is to get even further clarification on this issue, perhaps at the next RDC meeting. Of course, this is a suggestion. I have provided some possible language to be for a topic of a report on this issue. Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Khan, for the email. And also, Mr. Tahi, honorable members of RDC, I believe what we need to do at the next RDC meeting is what is recommended in the email by Ms. Khan, to have a report from the Department of Agriculture, the Resources Enforcement, and the Department of Justice. Or what we could do is have this as a leadership meeting and have an in-depth meeting, as well as from Mr. Francisco himself. And we could talk about the codes, the citations, codes that need to be amended, and have an in-depth discussion on this to make sure that we do correct some issues that we have had this past Navajo Nation Fair. So, Mr. Tahi?
Chair, members of RDC, Chair, members of RDC, I did receive Mrs. Khan's email. My recommendation, due to the lengthy information that is going to be required of this, is that we automatically schedule a work session or a leadership meeting on this discussion. Providing 20 minutes on this to provide a report will not give a significant enough time and energy that is required for this topic. That would be my recommendation for this, Chairman and RDC members. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. What we'll do is add it to the agenda for the next RDC meeting and request a work session, because 20 minutes each is not going to be sufficient time. And since Ms. Wilson is on the call, we would like for you to also provide your recommendations as to what laws and what we need to do as far as leadership to approve some amendments to the Navajo Nation Code, as well as from the Department of Agriculture, Mr. Watchman. So, Mr. Tahi, if you would add this to next RDC meeting for a work session, that would work.
Chair, members of RDC, I will do that. Before we proceed further, Chair, I believe I heard that Delegate Stewart indicated he's voting red on this report for receiving report A. I just want to get clarification as well.
Okay, Honorable Stewart, your vote?
It was red, Chairman.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. Vote changes from 4 in favor, 1 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries on the report. Thank you. Moving down to B, update report from Mr. Watchman on the Department of Agriculture on the request for proposal, RFP as it relates to Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, AIF, for the Navajo Nation. Mr. Watchman, you have 20 minutes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. Also, members of the committee, others on the phone. I guess just a little bit of clarification to the report. There is a RFQ that we have out for a proposal regarding our insurance policy. However, there's also some legislation regarding AIF that we have still waiting for it to be put in legislation. It's gone through review. So a little bit of clarification, maybe Rodney could give me a direction on what we're supposed to be reporting on. Is it the RFQ, or is it the our proposed legislation that's hopefully be ready for the 5A review in the next few days?
Mr. Tahi?
Chair, members of RDC, this request came from Delegate Stewart. He wanted a report from the Department of Agriculture. Per my notes, it was requested for an RFP as relates to the drought issue, the AIF. If I haven't been correct, Delegate Stewart can possibly correct me on that and further explain what information he is requesting further. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tahe. Honorable Stewart.
Yeah, yes, Chairman, and Mr. Tahi, my request, Mr. Watchman, for this report or update rather, was to see what the status is on the proposal for requests that was advertised back in September, I want to say, maybe I'm wrong, August, September, for the new drought insurance, and if a selection has been made or is it still pending, just that area and what process, how many did submit their bids or their proposals as well, just to give us an update as RDC to see where we're at and what process needs to take place. I know we are getting ready for the other one, and we're still working on that legislation, but this is just that one, Mr. Watchman. And Chairman, that's it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Mr. Watchman, you have 20 minutes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and also the clarification. I'll be brief. Back in September, early September, we met as a leadership meeting, I believe it was at Sandia, Albuquerque area. And I put on the board and a screen, so hopefully as members still could relate back to or refer back to that. There was an RFQ was put into the publication, advertisement following the Navajo Nation procurement. It was basically a request for qualification for an insurance provider to assist the Navajo Nation in an insurance policy under the range pasture, I guess, program under the USDA. Since that time, there was a closing date on September 9th, and there were some inquiries prior to that. There was 6 companies that inquired. There was 2 that submitted on the deadline, and we did do a bid opening, which members of the Business Regulatory, Department of Agriculture, and Purchasing were involved on the bid opening, which took place on the 27th September. And from that point, we went to have our team that was evaluating. That took place yesterday regarding the submittals, and basically the RFQ basically pointed out a few things, the qualifications and the history or the experience of the 2 bidders. From there, it's going to go into following the procurement. We would then notify, and that's what we're going to be doing as the scoring has come in. Reference to the selection committee, we will have an update here by the end of the week on how those scoring were evaluated and who was selected to move forward as a proposal for our upcoming needs for a policy provider for the next 5 years under the USDA program. And to my understanding, that coincides with the Farm Bill. That's the authorization, the timeline, which that program or this program that we are currently under is has an application for annually. But instead of going through this rigmarole every year, we have selected or chose to do a 5-year proposal. And what consists of that is that once we select somebody, they have to go through a background check. We do have to pay, and all of this advertisement is not excessive, but the more applicants we get, and if they move through the qualification, we do background all of them after they submit a proposal. So at this point, we have 2 companies. In the past, 5 years ago, we had as much as 4. So that's sort of the update, some of the background. And the next report we'll have on selection and also the scope of work in which they were selected to provide a policy, which would begin of the calendar year of 2023, which the application would not be due until November of 2023. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a verbal update, but I'll give you that course of action that we have gone through the procurement, working through the business regulatory, also purchasing, as well as our own internal group that consists of Fish and Wildlife and also Water Resources, and also the Department of Ag at this point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
Motion, Stewart.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Second. Is there a second?
Chairman Keelan.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable members of RDC, any comments or questions?
Question and comment, Chairman.
Okay. Honorable Stewart, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watchman, for the report and update on that one. Then the other area that I know is not related to, but it's kind of related to it, but the other area that I'm still getting questioned on, and from the community members, the farmers and not farmers, but the ranchers mainly, is the check processing. There are various community members from each of the 4 communities I represent, and even abroad, that bring this to my attention, that they have not received either last year's or the year before's payments yet. They want to know, and we ask, where is the status on those? And with this new process, is that going to be looked into as well during the selection process of the new proposed company that's going to be accepted, or how is that going to be working? More or less, they're concerned because, as any other rancher or farmer, they're saying, I don't want to delay in my payments. We're getting used to this one, and yet we're getting delayed again. But yet they want to see some type of change on that side. So those areas and those concerns are coming from the community ranchers out here, that when I attend the meetings with them, whether it be a planning meeting, chapter meeting, or even the District 18. So those are the questions I have on that one. Otherwise, with the report that you provided, I do appreciate that. And I thank you for the update to us as RDC, and the documents that you will be submitting back to us. That's all, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Stewart. Mr. Watchman, your response, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess there's two sides of I need to clarify there. One is that the process, or the selection, or the qualification is different. It's different to the question being asked. The Navajo Nation administers the incentive program, and yes, we are backlogged, and we're hoping to finalize or pay out all of the applicants, hopefully by the end of the year. And I say that optimistically because it does go through the financial system of Navajo. The insurance provider does not process any of the vouchers. It's all done internally from Navajo Nation. They do assist with the data collection to the information that is on the application, and jointly are building a database so we could expand. But into the future, and looking at the year 3 funding, we would propose that we have a fiscal agent that would handle the processing. And like Delegate Stewart and I receive calls every day, and where's my voucher or my payment? So as this program has expanded and is sitting around, our payout at the end of each of the third or the second cycle, we're going to pay out almost $6 million. So the next cycle we have coming up, and I know that it might be not something to report since the money has not been paid, but we do plan to make some changes under year 3 and have a fiscal provider, a third agent, provide the checks that are going out and have that under a contract. And that would be something that be more, I guess, consistent on the application and more timely is what we're thinking. Other than that, we're subject to the Navajo Nation procurement and also how what's needed to process a check for the Navajo Nation, and we are backlogged. We're still working. There's two incentives we have. One is a farm and garden. The other one is the livestock incentive, and we have been paying them out daily, working with accounts payable, and I hopefully will have a better update in the next 30 days and have some of those people paid, whether year one, year two. There are some people who have been paid on both of those cycles, but at times, some of the application in terms of addresses or information that the accounts payable DOG looks at, there are maybe need to be updated, and those are some delays. And the other delay is just getting the money in the right account. That has been our problem since there's been change in leadership. Those areas, those capacity, and they require different accounts. So we have to go through the transferring process. Those are some of the delays. However, moving forward, we know that this is a needed program, and it has provided a resource out in the community that has direct influence to our producers. And we're hoping that we can get a third party to be more expeditious in the future. That's our plan, Mr. Chair, and also thank you for the question, Delegate Stewart.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watchman. Honorable Stewart, do you have a follow-up?
No, I don't, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions? Going twice. Going three times. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote? Honorable Begay.
Kale votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels votes green according to his text message. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Freeland. We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Watchman. Down to number 8, close of meeting. Any other announcements?
Chair, members of RDC, I don't have additional announcements. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. We do have a NTUA and Navajo Nation Council leadership meeting tomorrow. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Second. There's second on adjournment.
Calvin.
Honorable Begay, thank you. Any comments or
Green
questions?
for Freeland, Chairman.
You're voting green?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
what you said? Okay. Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote? Honorable Begay?
Calvin votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels? Honorable Stewart?
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. It is now 12:11 and we are officially adjourned. Thank you everybody for calling in and your participation. God bless each and every one of you. Heck on.